I remember one time, one of the it was kind of crazy, like there was a lot of competition, and everybody wanted to be there with Gurudev, having prime seat next to him, serving him, and it could get a little crazy sometimes, and there was, I remember once and my nature was always like, my nature has always been like, if I see other people want something, I just step back, like let them have it. Like, I don't want to get into that crazy world, but I remember one time, one of my friends, she really wanted to have some personal service for our guru, and I don't know if she directly asked him, maybe she did, but he actually asked one of his principal assistants, like, do you have anything she can do? Like he wanted to give people, what they wanted, he wanted to, but like he himself, he was uncomfortable having so many servitors, but he knew like it meant everything to them, to have that relationship. And so he would try to find a way to accommodate them. And I remember that one time he specifically, and it's also, I think, a nice example of how he liked to do things with respect, giving honor to the existing servitors. Like, he didn't just make an arbitrary authoritarian decision, but he respected the position and service that others were already doing. And so he like checked in with one of his main assistants, can you find something for this other devotee to do? And she wouldn't, she wouldn't give anything, but all kinds of things. But sometimes our Gurudev, he would kind of like play with the devotees, like one time there were two, and sometimes there would be like these clashes going on with particular servitors, and he would kind of play with them a little bit. Like one time he told one servitor to go in to make him a sandwich, and so she went into the kitchen to make a sandwich, and then he told, a few minutes later, he told another servitor to go in to do the same thing. And then of course there were fireworks, and they're both oh, Gurudev told me to do it. It was also like a kind of test, like, are you going to be able to harmonize here? My mother told me how, like, she experienced that once when there was a devotee who she hadn't always gotten along with so well, and our Gurudev was praising that devotee one day, and then looked at my mother's eyes, and like very specifically looked at her, and she understood, like, he was testing her, like he wanted to see her expression, like, are you going to be happy that I'm glorifying this devotee, even though you've maybe seen a more negative aspect to them? Are you still going to be like, let go of envy and be happy to see them glorified? And she said, like, very consciously, she was like, Gurudev, like, I'm not going to fall for this. Like, I'm like, if you want to praise this devotee, I'm happy. Like, I'm very happy. You want to give position to this devotee, I'm very happy. Like, she's like, I'm not gonna fall into this trap. And Acharya Maharaj also told me how he told us how Gurudev mentioned that in regards to Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how there are a few occasions in Chaitanya Charitamrita where you see Mahaprabhu is glorifying glorifying a particular devotee, and then it mentions something like he's looking around the room or something like that, and our Gurudevs made a comment like, he's looking to see their response. He's like, he's testing them. Are they going to be happy to hear another devotee being praised, or are they going to be envious of that? Gurudev was very, he was very personal, and like, again, on this topic of personal servitors and how he related with them, another comment he made once was he commented about one of his assistants, who was one of the principal ones, and and they had a nature of kind of like, wanting to keep the control, kind of like be the director of the group. And Gurudev made a comment about that person, saying that like when they're engaging other people, then they're just giving a certain amount of duties. They're not giving enough information so that like that devotee can like just run with it, and freely like make it their own, make it their own service. But the person who was delegating was doing it in such a way so that they maintained the control, and not just like empowering the other servitors to really feel responsible, and this is my service and my connection, and he didn't like that, he didn't like that. So that's another, beautiful teaching there, right? And another interesting thing that, this is something I think 3 different personal servitors of our Gurudev told me, that he said, he told them to be confident, and I really appreciate, and it's interesting because it wasn't, like publicly there were certain themes that Gurudev would speak on, like humility, tolerance, and respect, especially, things like that, the importance of the service connection and connecting in the proper channel. There were certain things that Gurudev would always speak about. But then privately, there were also themes, that he was emphasizing, and like kind of on more specific points, And so this was one that it surprised me that like several, I think it was 3 different servitors. Nakul told me, Saraswati told me, and I think Nandapriya Devabandhu also told me that he encouraged them, be more confident, because, they would understandably, they would have some shyness and anxiety, serving him personally, worried about making mistakes. But he would tell them that repeatedly, like, be confident, and, it's okay to make mistakes, but be, don't hesitate, don't be insecure, but, be confident. You have some desire to do something, do it, and if you mess up, then learn from your mistake, and that's fine. Gurudev mentioned that once about his own service life in the early years. He said that whatever I could do for Guru Maharaj, I did it, and he said, and I never went into any lamentation about what I couldn't do. He said, I never had that mood, like, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. But he had this very positive and progressive looking spirit, like, whatever I can do, I'm doing that. And another thing he mentioned too was that when he had certainty that what he was doing was desired by his guru or by the Lord, then he would do it. He wouldn't think anymore, like while he's considering, while he's unsure if it's the right thing or not, then he may be hesitating and considering, but as soon as he had certainty, this is it, then he did it without any second thought. And he mentioned once, and this is one of the rare occasions, like, I've only heard Gurudev maybe 2 or 3 times speak about like, he had a relationship with the deities. I think 2 occasions, I heard this on tapes. I never heard him in person talk about it, but two tapes where he's like speaking with a few devotees, and he mentioned like some personal exchange with the deities. And he would also sometimes ask devotees, like if someone was coming from Sokel, he would sometimes ask, how are the deities doing? How are Gandharvika Giridhari? He would ask that sometimes. How are they doing? Like, for him, they were people, that he had a relationship with. And of course, the devotees are like, oh, we're not sure, Gurudev. Sorry. But yeah, this one time I heard on this recording where Gurudev said that sometimes what he would do is he would he would go to the deities like for some indication, like what is their desire, and that if he felt some clarity, then he would be like, give his dandavat and then go. That's it. I'm doing this. Like all doubt is forgotten. This is what I'm doing. This is their desire. And he would do that later, like while Srila Sridhar Maharaj was there, then he would, of course, directly consult with Srila Sridhar Maharaj. But after Srila Sridhar Maharaj left, he used to go to Srila Sridhar Maharaj at his samadhi, and he used to go like late at night, like when nobody was around. Yeah, I heard this from Acharya Maharaj directly. Acharya Maharaj said that he used to do night duty, and how one night he came across Gurudev standing in front of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's samadhi, and he, it was the middle, I don't know what time, maybe it's 1 a.m. or something, it was the middle of the night, and he asked, maybe it was earlier than that, but it was, everyone's in bed, and so then he asked Gurudev, like, is everything okay? And Gurudev said, I like to come at this time, nobody's around, and it's quiet, and he had some inquiry, something he needed to discuss with Guru Maharaj, something he needed clarified. And I think he said how when Srila Sridhar Maharaj was present, he used to go to him too, like when it was very quiet, everybody's sleeping or something, like, and they could just have like a very focused discussion. So today is the Adivas day, the Adivas day of our Gurudev's departure, Tito Bhav Mahotsav. So it is a heavy day for all of us, but it is also, I also feel more and more that, Gurudev is so present with us, and especially when we are exchanging, with other, sincere devotees, sincere seekers, then we feel that living connection with Srila Govinda Maharaj, that actually everything's just beginning, I feel that sometimes, like, sorry. Like I feel sometimes like when he left is actually when things really began, in the sense that it's like, now I'm really on the battlefield, like he gave us the lessons, he gave us the teachings, and then he left, like then it's like we have to really pull up our socks and like apply, like what he gave us, we have to apply it, so sometimes there's a tendency to get really nostalgic, and we're many of us are guilty of that. We can get nostalgic about the good old days, but actually it's not like that, because Krishna consciousness is not a philosophy, and it's not history, association with a Vaishnava saint, that caliber. It's not like just an event in the history book, but it's something living and alive, so I feel like that, that there's no room for nostalgia, but like actually things have just begun, and I still feel like that. And it was interesting, I was thinking yesterday, because Chintamani, she was asking me about, because I was there when Gurudev left, and I happened to be there, and like normally I wasn't, everything in my life, by Gurudev's grace, it's always very miraculous, and I wasn't normally in Calcutta, because at that time I was staying in Navadvip, but I happened to be there at the time when he departed. And Chintamani was asking me about that. And but one thing I reflect on this sometimes, that it was interesting, like the last time that I saw Gurudev, it was a different mood, you know, like because with many of the devotees, there was this kind of like profound sadness, like he was injecting them with this feeling of separation. You know, like there were a few, you know, because, you know, it's like we were all kind of in denial, but at the same time, it was like we knew he was going to leave, you know, like it was undeniable that he was going to leave. And he was actually saying goodbye to everyone in different ways, you know, and Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj, there's a video, some of you will have seen it, that Satya Sundar made, Avadut Maharaj's brother made. And Goswami Maharaj discusses this point too, how like reflecting back on those few weeks leading up to his departure, it was as if he was saying goodbye. And you know, many of the devotees, all the devotees who were there, like there was some special exchange with Gurudev. And it was like his way, and like in retrospect, it feels like that was his way of saying goodbye. And a few of the devotees, they had these really intense moments with Gurudev where like they just started crying, you know. And there was one incident I was sharing with Chintamani, which was especially profound, with one devotee. This was a devotee who used to take care of the cows, and like really tough Venezuelan lady devotee, Kamala Nayan, you know her, Govindhanandini. And she was incredible, you know. She used to work hard to raise funds to serve the Goshala, the cows. We had like, I don't know, 50, 100 cows. We had a lot of cows. And so she used to work really hard to be able to provide medicine, food, and you know, health care and all kinds of stuff, and repairs in the Goshala, all kinds of stuff. And she was doing that for years, and she'd go back and forth from South America to India. And she had this final meeting with Gurudev a few weeks before he left, which was really intense, where she came in and you know, he was like, in the last few months, like our Gurudev was hardly speaking. And he was like laying down, and then she was going to go out because it was looking like, you know, he's not in the right, you know, mood to reciprocate. She didn't want to disturb, so she was going to go out. But then our Gurudev like told her to come closer, and then he started expressing this appreciation for the service she was doing for the cows, and he said something like, "You're taking care of my cows," and he started crying, and then he told her to pat him on the head, you know, which is inconceivable, because in the Vedic culture, that's something that a senior does to a junior. I mean, in any culture probably, but it's like, especially in the Vedic culture, like that's a big thing to do, you know. And actually, when Srila Sridhar Maharaj was leaving the world, I mean, like maybe one day before, he asked Gurudev to stroke his head. You know, I mean, it's a very profound thing. And so he asked her to pat him on the head, and she was like shocked and like looking around the room, like at the other devotees, like, is that really okay? And then like, yes, he's telling you. So she started doing that, and then he started crying, and there was a verse, some Sanskrit verse he started chanting too, which I haven't been able to find out what it was. But then he started crying, and she started crying too, and so they're both there having this like profound exchange, and they're both crying, and you know, there were a few, I wasn't there, but I heard, she told me about it, and a few who were present, they also told me about it, and I think it was Deva Bandhu. he made this interesting comment that he like what he felt was that this was Gurudev's way of saying how much he cared for all of his disciples, because Kamala, like, she was a wonderful devotee, but it's not like she was like in a, you know, like in a really prominent position, like a, you know, it's like a leader, you know, she wasn't like, you know, a temple president or whatever, right, or a big preacher. Like, she's one of the sincere congregation. And so he felt like it was like a moment, there was a moment of universality there, like this was Gurudev's way of saying how, like, for all of his sons and daughters, like how much love and care he had for them. You know, like this was like a few weeks before he left the world. So it was like his way of saying, of like showing this separation, you know, like I feel sorrow, I will be leaving you, you know? And was something else I wanted to say about that. Right. Oh yeah, and then another really interesting thing is that another devotee who had been one of the like entourage, she told me that for several days beforehand, our Gurudev had expressed, I want to cry, but I cannot cry. I want to cry, but I cannot cry. And then there was this profound exchange with Kamala, one of his disciples, and he, you know, the tears just like there was a release for him, you know. And you know, this is like really, I mean, this is really intimate stuff, and this is like, you know, in this mood, like this kind of mood for Gurudev, like it's not like he's always like that, like, you know, this was like something very unique, you know, for him to like kind of like put his heart out like that, you know, and show this kind of like tenderness and vulnerability. And, you know, I mean, it's incredible, you know. So there were a few exchanges. That one I think was like the most intense, you know. But like another one of my friends, he was leaving India and he went to say goodbye, and then he said to Gurudev, oh, I hope I can see you again soon. And our Gurudev said, yes, if I am alive. And then that devotee, he just started crying. And this was a person who like never cries, you know. And you know, and there were other things, like a few of the devotees he mentioned, like, oh, they are my best friend, you know, like he made these deep expressions of appreciation for some of the devotees. But the last meeting I had with Gurudev, this is what I'm coming to, it was really interesting, because what had happened is and this is the reason I was in Calcutta, is I'd had to go out for a visa exit to Nepal, and I'd had to go through Calcutta. And so I was coming back to Calcutta on my way to Navadvip. But then Madhusudana Maharaj, Mahananda at the time, he asked me to stay longer because he wanted my help with some publishing new book he was working on. And it was funny because even Gurudev was asking, like, why is she here? Like, she has duties in Navadvip. And Madhusudana Maharaj was like keeping me like, no, we need her here. And he also like told Gurudev, we're training her up. She's going to be really expert. And so that was cool, you know. It's like I really wasn't like, normally I wasn't meant to be there. And even Gurudev was like, why is she here, you know? But then, you know, by the divine will, you know, I was able to be there, which I'm so grateful I was, because I feel like it would have been so much harder to process if I hadn't been there. But anyway, so I was in there for maybe a week or two, and you know, and I was always pretty shy about going to see Gurudev, and especially when his health, he was showing very poor health. But what happened is one of the bodyguards, Ramachandra, I'm forever indebted to Ramachandra. He's just one of my best friends. And now he's the one who got me to come back to Sokel now for the festival tomorrow. So he like, you know, he was like, Vishakha, come in and see Gurudev. You know, like, you have to come. He just like pulled me pulled me in one day, like, and I'm like, no, 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 no. And he's like really big, and like he's very tall and big, and so you don't say no. You don't say no to Ramachandra. He's like a friendly giant. He's like a big friendly giant. And so he's like, no, Vishakha, you got to go in there. No, you got to go and see Gurudev. You got to get the mercy. And so he got me in. And but you see, what's really interesting is like normally Gurudev, as I said, like Gurudev, he was laying down most of the time, you know. But somehow, like that moment when I went in to see him, he was like showing a totally different mood. And he was sitting in his chair, and he was like super friendly. And we had this like kind of like, it was like casual and light and very happy. And then he was asking me, and then like I told him, oh, I just came back from my visa exit. And then he was asking me, oh, how much longer are you going to be able to stay here? And you know, we had this, you know, like just very happy exchange. And then later on, I like after Gurudev left, I remembered that, and I felt like it was like Gurudev was saying to me, like, I'm not going anywhere. You know, like, and the way he'd asked me, like, how much, like he was asking me about me being there and staying there, and you know, it's like everything's continuing, you know, like the service is going on, you know. Like, you know, like, you know, he was, you know, according to everyone's mood and necessity, he was showing something different, you know. And for me, it was this like business as usual, you know, like everything's just going on, you know, as before. And I'm still here, you're here, I'm not going anywhere, you know. And more, and you know, this day used to be a lot harder, but I feel as time goes by, it gets easier. And I feel that more and more, that it's a deep spiritual connection, and seeing like how things manifest in my life, and you know, exchanging with so many beautiful devotees like yourselves, and so many beautiful seekers. Like I see like how his magic is still working, you know, and how he's still entering people's lives, and on such a deep level, you know, on such a deep level. Like, you know, someone was saying to me yesterday, I said to them, like, you know, I feel so sorry that you couldn't meet our guru. And he said, well, I'm happy I could meet one of his proteges, you know. And then I told him, you know, but actually, you know, like our Gurudev, he's not like our monopoly, you know, like it's not like, oh yeah, like, you know, like there can be this thing like, you know, Prabhupada disciple, right? Or, you know, or Guru Maharaj disciple, you know, like, and now it'll be like, oh yeah, we're direct Govinda Maharaj disciple. It's like, yeah, like that's so bogus. Yeah, that's so bogus. No, he's not anyone's monopoly. And I told this man yesterday, you know, like that relationship, it's there for everyone. You know, that relationship with Srila Govinda Maharaj, because it's a spiritual connection. And I've seen it, you know, I've been astounded even to see how some newcomers are coming and they really feel a deep relationship with Srila Govinda Maharaj. It's I mean, sometimes it really does, like, it's to a level that surprises me. Like, wow, how is this possible? Like, then it reminds me, like, this is something like over your head, like this is something happening beyond your comprehension, you know. And you know, I mentioned, are you going to say something, Govinda? You turned on your...
Yes, just this. The other day we were arranging some pictures, and Gurudev's pictures kind of were falling, and one devotee, new devotee, she's Tirvika Maharaj disciple. Oh, Gurudev's picture is falling. She was kind of, and I felt what you're saying. Oh, she has a true connection to him. So I really, it's really special to see this. What you said.
Yeah. Yeah, I like you. I always kind of I'll make a double take, like, whoa, like, is that what they just said? You know, like I remember once in in Navadip, Dandavat, Samya Shamprabhu, and also Tungaras has also joined us. I remember when I was in Navadip once, and there was a devotee who came from Thailand, and she'd never been to India. She never met Gurudev. I think she was a disciple of Goswami Maharaj. So she was coming to the mat for the very first time. And as soon as she came in the gate, I received her. And the first thing she said to me was, I want to go see Gurudev. And I was like, wow, like this is her very first time. She's never met Gurudev. She had that feeling, to go to Gurudev's Samadhi temple. I want to go see Gurudev. That was like the first thing that came out of her mouth. And I was so impressed and so happy, so joyful to see that. She really felt the connection, relationship. And I've seen many examples, there have been many examples, but the one that's the most outstanding to me, and I've shared this a few times, so you might have heard it already, but one god sister, she took initiation from one of the current initiating gurus, and she confided in me how she felt more of a relationship with Srila Govinda Maharaj than with her current guru. And she was feeling guilty about it. And like she took me aside to have like a private discussion, like, is this okay? Because some of the devotees in her congregation had told her, like, you're a disciple of so-and-so, like you should be feeling more of a relationship with them, this kind of like society consciousness. And so she came to me like to ask, is it okay? Like I feel more of a relationship with Srila Govinda Maharaj. And I was like, that's beautiful, don't worry. And then she told me something, really astounding, that she said that she felt like her guru, the person she'd taken initiation from, was very busy and didn't have time to give her so much attention. And so therefore, Srila Govinda Maharaj had come to give her the support that she needed. I was like, wow, it just blew me away. Govinda Maharaj came, to take care of me because my guru was too busy. And that reminds me now of this famous expression that Swami Maharaj Prabhupada he made to some of his disciples. I need some water here. Before he left the world, he told to some of them that, no, I am leaving, but your grandfather will take care of you. Referring to the Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. No, I'm leaving, but your grandfather will take care of you. It's like, wow. There's no rational logic there. Like according to mundane calculation, that's impossible to understand. But because in that, in the plane of consciousness, there's so much space, there aren't these limitations. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was talking about this once, and he said it's like, if you're thinking of someone on the other side of the world, and you can just pick up the phone and call them, right? And so similarly, in spiritual transactions, there aren't these limitations. When we're calling out to these great Vaishnavas, they're responding to that. Just like if we call someone on our phone, they're responding to that.
Am I missing the Zoom?
It's 10:39. It starts at 10.
Oh no! Oh my God! I'm so
Chintamani's here.
I'm still in my pajamas. Oh my God, how embarrassing. Can you come in the kitchen?
You can sit here. Oh, you're in the kitchen.
I'm doing kitchen Sangha.
Okay.
I'll be really quiet on the microphone.
I'll sit in the kitchen.
I'm so sorry. I love you guys.
Chintamani.
Jai Chaudhary.
Okay. So, but yeah, Srila Maharshi, Shintari. I don't want to disturb anyone with my Harikatha.
What are you talking about? It's not disturbing. We want to hear Harikatha.
So Srila Maharshi, he mentioned that, and he was speaking about Rupa Goswami and how when Mahaprabhu met with Rupa Goswami in Prayag for 10 days, and then afterwards and then Mahaprabhu had to go back to Puri, and Rupa Goswami Mahaprabhu told Rupa, I want you to go to Vrindavan, like that's your place of service. And Rupa Goswami told Mahaprabhu, I cannot tolerate the waves of separation. Please let me come with you. And then Mahaprabhu tells him, like by you fulfilling my desire, we are united. We are connected. And then Srila Maharaj, he made this comment about like how there's so much spaciousness within consciousness, and we can have this relationship. And I think sometimes too of the example of Narottam, Narottam Thakur, if we have this song, Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, right? It is like the anthem, the sacred anthem of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, where he's expressing this profound affinity, for the lotus feet of Shri Rupa. But if you think about it, Narottam Thakur, he never met Rupa Goswami. He never met Rupa Goswami. He was like a generation or two after. So like, where did he get this? Like, how did he get this? But because through consciousness, it is possible. So, and it's interesting. Sometimes I meet like new persons coming to our community, and they feel a special connection with a particular Vaishnava. Recently someone told me they feel this connection with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and and they've made it their life mission to share try and spread the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and spread awareness of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And somebody else recently told me also that they felt this connection with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so that relationship is still there and still available. And so in the same way with Srila Govinda Maharaj, he's, as I said, he's not anyone's monopoly, and that relationship is there for anyone who desires it, who wants to feel that connection. It is there. So, the beat goes on. the drum's still rolling. It's just started. I really feel like that more and more. Like actually everything is just beginning. Everything is just beginning. That like he planted some seeds, and now like we have to take care of those seeds and give the fertilizer, give the water, the sunlight, and what beautiful fruit will come. Are we ready? There's a beautiful talk of Srila Maharaj where he says, like open your heart, and be ready. What wave of the infinite will come to grace you? What wave of the infinite will come to touch you? Are you prepared for that? What wonder, what beauty. It is all there. It is only about whether, do we have our wires aligned properly to receive that electricity? It's there. The electricity's there. But have we done our wiring properly? Are we able to receive that? That is the only question. It is all there. He was all there. Welcome back to Jim, also here. Tomorrow's the anniversary of our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj's departure from this world, and so we're having some remembrance of that. And tomorrow we'll be having a special festival in SoCal. And I also felt that, in my own relationship with Srila Govinda Maharaj, I felt like that was one of the main things that he was, as I said, like Gurudev had, he would show different moods and different teachings to different persons. And I feel like, reflecting on my exchanges with Srila Govinda Maharaj, that I feel like that was one of the main things that he was always trying to teach me, like our relationship. It's like, don't be too fixed on the physical relationship. It's a spiritual relationship, and our connection is through the current of dedication. And you are trying to align with my will, with my desire, Guru Goranga. Then we are connected. So, that's an eternal movement. And it's just, we're just so inconceivably fortunate because, we have this opportunity, like I was mentioning this the other day. I grew up I always loved literature, and I loved reading, and some of these, great writers and philosophers, you come across, like, you see how, like, they're coming across strands of truth, right? Like, Shakespeare, like, so brilliant. Some of the ideas that he's exploring, they're very high ideas. But so you see, like, how, these great thinkers of the past, like, they're touching upon, like, different facets of the truth, and they have this eagerness and this hunger, but they don't have the information. They don't have the resources to go further, and, like, we're so spoiled in this present age, because everything's been given to us on a golden plate. Everything's like, we've been given that information, like what these, like, great thinkers of the past were longing for and touching upon here and there, and in some vague way. Like our Guru Varga, they came here to our door, like, with the book, like, here's the answer. So, like, how fortunate, how blessed are we? It's all been given to us. It's just a question of us reciprocating with it, right? Like, how much we will, as we respond and reciprocate, so we will receive. There's no limit to how much we can receive. There's no limit to how much divine grace can enter our lives. It's just a question of how much we're ready for, and how much we can be open to. Gurudev, there's one kind of cryptic comment of Gurudev's in, I think, in the Divine Servitor, where he says, now we have come to the right path. We've come to the path. We have everything. The only question is how much we can tolerate the speed. He says, the only question is how much we can tolerate the speed of the journey. That divine current, it's flowing. How much can we keep up with it? That's the only question. But there's no limit to how much is available. There, we were in Austin, Texas a few weeks ago, and we were kind of brainstorming different ideas about how to present Krishna consciousness, to the public. And Dinar Tahara Prabhu, he's very funny and devotee and very enthusiastic, and so we're like coming up with marketing ideas, and then he was like, then we were talking about some of the things we would say, and he's like, we've got content. It's like, we don't have to worry about content. Like, we've got content. Like, maybe we're not so good on the marketing side, but we've got content. You know, like some people, they're starting a new business or something, and they don't really have anything to give, and they're trying to make some flashy marketing to attract people. You know, like we wouldn't have to worry about that. Like, we've got the substance, we've got the content. Srila Maharaj, he also talked about how like, you know, some groups, they may have these big fancy signboards, but if you go to make a closer examination, you'll find they're bankrupt. If you go to do an audit, then you'll find of their accounts, you'll find that they're bankrupt. They're spiritually bankrupt. You know? So, you know, we don't have to worry about that. You know, maybe our signboard isn't so good, but maybe we can work on the signboard with Chintamani's help. She's but we've got the substance. We have the money in the bank. You know, we've got the money in the bank. So half of the work has been done. You know, it's like, how much do people struggle in this world with bogus gurus and searching for the right path? And like, we found that, you know, relatively easily. You know, we found that. So like, half the battle's over, half the struggle's over. And now the question is, now we found it, how are we going to move forward with that? You know, how are we going to keep this as a living thing? You know, something alive and vital and dynamic. No, that is the question now. We don't want this to become a culture, you know, or a lifestyle, or a dress, or a tune, or a style, you know, but we want this to be our life essence. Did you want to say something back to Jim?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. You know, the thing that keeps coming back to me I've been chanting for like 25 years, and I think Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was like wearing English clothing and driving in like motor cars in India, you know. He was completely ahead of his time. He was so far out that nobody could like relate, like, who is this? And then Prabhupada, you know, he was a Naishtika brahmachari. Then Prabhupada is a householder with all these children in a pharmacy, and he's like, what am I going to do? And then he came over and at first went to the uptown, to the rich, to the established, you know, doctors and lawyers, and nobody cared about it. And so by default, he ends up down in the Bowery with the hippies and the drug addicts. So we have to be available to that next incarnation of time, place, and circumstances, and be ready to be completely far out and unpredictable. Like just so innovative. Like, there's some devotees, I think someone's working on an app, like a video game, like a bhakti video game. I heard something like that. Someone else, they said there's some Indian filmmakers want to do the Mahabharata in a movie. They were working on that. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. We've got the temple of the Vedic planetarium, which has been going for decades. That's totally far out. But, you know, I'm always thinking of like the everyday person, the Joe Six-Pack truck driver, how to explain things in a way that they, you know, I get that. So I'm out here on the fringe, you know. The only community I really have is dear friends who are fellow bhaktas that we all keep each other alive with association, but there's nothing really formal going on because I'm kind of like in the seedling gestation stage, just remaining open to what because I have no idea where anything's going to go.
Mm.
But I know that what you said is absolutely true, that the content is just like, so I have all the books, and it's like, I got the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, the original unedited, for like $79.
Wow.
I mean, people can drop $79 over lunch, and I have like this Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's like the most mind-blowing.
Mm.
But how do I present that to the guy who's working at the Chevron station?
Mm. Yeah, that's the challenge of distribution. How to package it in
I
such a
think I
way
have,
that people can appreciate it more readily. Mhm.
yeah. So it's exciting on the one hand, and on the other hand, I'm always really like depressed, like I'm not doing anything. But my wife continues to remind me, no, she goes, you are doing so much, you don't even realize it. And just keep the faith, like keep your faith that you're going to be guided from within the heart by Krishna. And yeah, Krishna is in everyone's heart. And from me alone, he says, comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So I'm just trying to keep the faith. But I
mean, maintaining our own faith and our own integrity in Krishna consciousness, that's already a huge thing. That's not something to be underestimated.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
The fact that I get up every day and chant some rounds and offer prasadam and offer fruit and flowers and just, that seems like a small thing, but sometimes it's huge. Just offering and being grateful for the prasadam, and
yeah,
that's the seed of the universe right there in a bowl of sabji.
there was one time this group of devotees who asked Gurudev for some special instruction for their community. And, many devotees, they like to do that with Gurudev. They wanted something special and personal for them. And sometimes he would give that, But in this case, he told this group of this community, just maintain your Krishna consciousness. And they were all really disappointed, at the time. And then over the next few years, then they started to realize like that was not such a light thing. Then they started to appreciate that instruction in a new light.
There's that story of Bhaktivinoda Thakur where things were really roaring and there were all these devotees coming, and then there was a certain stage where everything tapered off and there was nothing really happening. He was actually troubled by this. And so he prayed, and from within the heart, Krishna told him, he said, you've done everything you can for now. Just keep chanting. Keep chanting the holy names. There are waves like on the ocean, and there will be another wave. But for now, it's kind of a lull, and souls will be taking birth. They'll be coming back who didn't quite finish. The people who just maybe walked by a kirtan group and saw the devotees chanting and they heard it. And then the next life, they're going to come and they're going to get a book.
Wait,
and
that's interesting. I haven't heard that before. This was somebody asked, who, sorry?
I've heard so many far out stories over 25 years. I can't remember who said what, but yeah, it was like Bhaktivinoda Thakur was.
I thought you said Bhaktivinoda Thakur, yeah.
Yeah, he was concerned because no more new devotees were coming. Like it was flattening out. And then it was revealed to him in his heart that they'll come in the next life. They're coming. They're coming in waves. They're just coming in incessant waves, just like Krishna is always coming in waves of incarnations.
And he said, keep chanting. That's interesting because Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said something similar. It was some case with one of the successor gurus of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, and they'd left their post, and so there were some disciples who were like in limbo. What are we going to do? And they asked Srila Sridhar Maharaj for advice, and he told them, wait for some time and take shelter of the name. You don't need to make any quick decisions. but takes, like, while you're waiting, take shelter of the name, like you're saying,
Right.
keep chanting.
Right.
Mm.
And Prabhupada said, even if you can't follow all the regulative principles, never stop chanting. Just keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting, and it will carry you forward. So sometimes that's all I've got is just japa mala, or I'll turn on a recording of a really good kirtan and I'll get my kartals out and dance around the room with it, and then I get together with my godbrothers, and it's just we don't want to leave each other, because it's like that electric. You were talking about the current. Whenever two or more, even Jesus said, whenever two or more gather in my name, there I am. So when we get together, it like amplifies that just to two people. It's like, wow, because we're out here in the boonies. And we've lamented that for decades, but I've come to realize what a blessing it is to, when you're kind of a lone wolf devotee, you have to be strong, like you just said, internally. You have to keep the flame going in your heart. And even though it doesn't look like much is happening externally, because there was years when I was making all kinds of devotees, we're having programs, and then we're in that lull again, So I know there's more coming, and I know, like, one day I want us to be on the Super Bowl halftime show with like 10,008 devotees on the football field.
10,008.
And we have, when people come into the game, they get these little plaques, when they put them all together, it'll have the mantra on, all around the crowd, and we'll play My Sweet Lord or something by George Harrison. Everyone will sing, Madonna, because Madonna's come in contact with some devotees too, Manjari. So anyway, you just never know who Sting has chanted. So there's so many famous people who like Krishna consciousness, Drew Barrymore and so many. So we just never know who will open the door and something will pop.
Yeah, but another thing is that as the more that we go into this ourselves, the less we will care about that, actually.
True. It's so true. It doesn't matter, because we just relish it.
Yeah, we're relishing it. And there's so much of a journey and work, right? That in the subjective sphere, within ourselves, like that's all absorbing, and of course, it would be cool if we had some famous person who's like, advocating for the Krishna consciousness movement. That'd be great. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And
no,
there's that expression of Saraswati Thakur, like, if we can bring one person to Krishna consciousness, that's infinitely more valuable than so many charitable activities in the world. Like what is the value of one person? Swami Maharaj Prabhupada also said, if one of my disciples can become Krishna conscious, then I will feel successful. And I hope that they will be able to bring me back to Godhead, he said. That was his expression. And we also see with Sridhar Maharaj, he was so much on the other side, like we may be thinking, like Woody Harrelson, he's also into Krishna consciousness. We may be thinking about the big names in this world, but like for our gurus, the big names are Rupa Goswami, like Raghunath Das Goswami, Gadadhar, like they're like in the same way that we may think the people around us, like they're big and present and concrete. Like to our gurus, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj has mentioned, like I'm living at the feet of Rup and Raghunath, Swarup Damodar, Gadadhar Pandit. Like that's my reference point, that's where I'm living. And that, that's also one of the challenges when we are out on the field, like not to be captured by the glamour.
Right.
And like to maintain our inner integrity, and like what's the real reference point? Like, oh, there's some fancy millionaire who wants to sponsor me or whatever. And but like, who cares actually?
Right.
like okay, that would be nice if they want to do some service for Mahaprabhu, but I'm a humble servant of Guru and Gauranga, you know, and that's what's so wonderful about Swami Maharaj's like story, because like he maintained this integrity, right? You know, he came like with nothing, and as you were mentioning, he's living in the Bowery. You know, he started from scratch. He started with nothing, and he wasn't bedazzled by the Hollywood lights, you know, and you know, he was so upfront, you know, like to a shocking degree, like in laying down what is what, you know, and he wasn't trying to win a popularity contest. It's actually inconceivable, like how, like, and that shows his potency, right? Like we couldn't get away with a lot of the things that he said, you know. So
right.
so that, yeah, that's, I mean, that's a challenge I have to face, you know, not to be bedazzled by the glamour and the lights and the show, you know, and to make, like, check in daily, moment by moment.
Yes.
You know, like, where's the real reference point?
Right.
Oh.
Like you have something that is so precious, that is beyond, there's not enough gold in all the universes that could buy what you have already. You have the key to liberation, you have the key to love of God. And both of those are like, you can't buy those. They're you know, even Jesus said what his disciples asked him, what is the greatest commandment in the law? And Christ replied, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy mind, all thy soul, and all thy strength. You know, like bhakti, prem, that is the ripened fruit of all aspiration, is actually to love Krishna. I don't have any love for Krishna, but I have such gratitude. I'm just thanking him like Radha Krishna, thank you so much. Thank you you're blessing me. And I pray to Nrsingadev. I have my little Nrsingadev pendant for protection. You know, I wear my little Nrsingadev, and I'm just praying to Nrsingadev and Radha Krishna all the time, like giving thanks and, hey, thank you for the protection. You know, thank you for the guidance. Like, it's like this is a really like, whoa, this world is like, wow, it's so can be so like padanga vipadanga, how that verse goes about danger.
Padam vipadam natesham. Yes.
So true.
Every
man.
step
Like,
there's danger. Yes.
because I go running every day, and these cars are coming past me on the road. Sometimes it's like, so yeah, I feel very small and helpless. And so yeah, I like what you said about checking in day to day, moment by moment, and just remaining aloof from the glitter, you know, and just giving respect from a humble place, and staying safe with the holy name. And nothing to lose and all to gain if you can chant the holy name. So I just really appreciate your down-to-earth presentation. You're extremely approachable and humble, and yet you're vastly learned and advanced. And so it's very refreshing what you're offering. And I know Chintamani used to speak of you before I met you on here, and she says, you've got to come check out Vishakha. She's the real deal. And that's what I like about Jayadev and Chintamani.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
the real deal.
Yeah, they're the real deal. Yeah.
Van life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always try to support them if I can.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Jim. You always like kind of get the juice churning in our discussion. I love that. And you express things so beautifully, and yeah, and not only expressing, but your sentiment is very beautiful. It's so earnest. So.
Yeah, I've been blessed with so many senior, great devotees. So many I've been blessed to meet over the years, and they've just like given me such association, and they're all beautiful preceptors. So many, I just love them all, and they're so humble, and they so appreciate what they have too. You know, they're just like, how fortunate are we? So So thank you again. I really this is like a shot in the arm, like my inoculation.
Yeah, me too. Me too. This keeps me alive.
It's a soul vaccination.
Look at all the smiling faces here. You got everyone smiling.
Soul vaccination. Hey, Chintamani. Where are you? Are you in SoCal?
We're on our way. We are in Ojai. We have a very lovely friend here, Kelly, who's hosting us, and I'm coming up from Tijuana, and
Oh, wow.
now we're heading back to SoCal. Yeah.
How long are you going to be in California?
I'm gonna fly on Saturday to Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, so a few more days.
Okay. Well, may all good fortune shower upon your journey.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jim.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have also Jadu Gopal just tuned in from Ireland, so welcome. And also Krishna Mohini from Spain tuned in, but maybe she's dropped out. But now we have an anonymous iPhone who's also here, so welcome. And does anyone, we are coming to the end of our meeting. Does anyone want to add anything at all to the discussion? Should we close for today? Govinda Nandini, our beloved hostess. Okay. Well, thank you so much for always hosting, and thank you all for being present and giving your good association. Here's our hostess, Kelly, here.
Hello, nice to see you.
Really amazing, angel on earth.
Thank you. You're the angel.
Oh, here's Jadu Gopal. Dhanavad, Jadu Gopal. Great to see you. Okay, well, should we close there then? Yeah. Jai Shalabhakti Sundar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Tadiya Tirubhav Titi Mahamahotsava. Sorry, Tirubhav Adivas Titi Mahamahotsava ki Jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai. Well, here's Krishna Mohini Devi. She's the iPhone. Dandavat Krishna Mohini Devi. Okay, see you all next week.
Jai Vishakha Devi Dasi ki
Jai.